America's handing out money again. Trump just announced something he's calling the tariff dividend. Basically, every American could get at least $2,000 in cash. They expect over 85% of U.S. adults to qualify. That's more than $400 billion about to be handed out, while total U.S. debt is already pushing $40 trillion. This morning, Trump said the checks will go to regular people, but high-income earners will be excluded. So yeah, this is basically another massive stimulus plan, and it could have a big impact, especially now that markets are already sitting near record highs. Who actually gets the money? We can look back at the last time the U.S. handed out stimulus checks, March 2021, the $1,400 round. Back then, full payments went to singles making under $75K, single parents under $112.5K, and married couples under $150K. If we apply that same rule today, around 220 million adults qualify, roughly the lower 85% of earners. Do the math, 220 million times $2,000, that's roughly $440 billion in cash hitting people's accounts, and Trump even hinted it could be more than $2,000. But here's the problem. America's wealth gap is now the widest it's ever been. In Q2 2025, the top 10% of earners made up almost half of all U.S. spending. That's the highest since 1989. And we've seen this movie before. The 2021 stimulus checks did boost spending fast, but once the sugar rush faded, inflation went through the roof. U.S. inflation peaked close to 10% after that round. Now, inflation's back to around 3%, but if another wave of stimulus hits, we could be adding fuel to the fire. Trump says after this payout, tariff revenues will go toward paying down the national debt. But let's be real. Over the past 5 years, total U.S. debt jumped by $10 trillion. Since the government shutdown began on October 1st, it's already up another $600 billion. In August, the U.S. collected a record $30 billion in tariffs, but that same month's deficit was $345 billion. Tariffs cover barely 10% of that whole. So yeah, the debt crisis is the real ticking bomb here. And just like 2020, the Fed's pivoting again. Last September, they cut rates by 50 basis points, the first time since 2008, and they've cut another 50 points in the last 2 months. If you add stimulus checks on top of that, you're basically pouring gasoline on a fire. Remember, the U.S. has never sent out checks this big when stocks were already at record highs. The S&P 500 is only 3% away from its all-time high, up 35% since April's bottom. Meanwhile, the AI boom is raging. Tech companies are spending over $200 billion a quarter in capex. So, here's the takeaway. Own assets. Because in times like this, when money's being printed and handed out, the people who already own assets are always the ones who win.